Hello everyone, my name is Michael O'Malley. My wife and I, Daniel, have been members here of the Summit for a couple of years, and my story today is about growth groups. As you know, we're all starting growth groups here at the Summit for this year, and our experience with growth groups has been about 10 years. We were members of growth groups at our previous church, and we call them small groups. For about 10 years, and during that time we were blessed to be able to lead a small group most of the time. When we first started, it was kind of different. We'd always gone to Sunday school, not necessarily small groups, but once they really got started, they were a real blessing to us in a number of different ways. When we hear from other members of small groups and from Jim about how the Spirit kind of nudges us and how we experience God in these small groups, and particularly when we two or more gathered in His name. That's been my experience too. I sat out in the audience of the sermons and just, kind of say, yep, that's true, that's what happened to us. So what I thought I'd do is just share one story over the last few years that, is really a kind of a God thing, I think. Well, absolutely was a God thing. So, anyway, we'd been into our community groups. We call them community groups. We also call them small groups, growth groups, during the 10 years that we were at Grace Community Church. And a couple of years into it, we were at a typical Wednesday night dinner. Our Wednesday night dinners were pretty intimate. When I say intimate, for the most part, the same people showed up all the time. But anyway, one Wednesday night, there was a new face there in the group, and I kind of felt the nudge to go over and say hello to this new guy. He really looked pretty lost, like kind of didn't know anyone. And so anyway, I went over and said hello, introduced myself. His name was Alan, and introduced Alan to our church and to the idea of community groups, and invited him to ours. So anyway, Alan showed up that next community group, and it was pretty quiet at first. He kind of sat in the corner by our bay window and very cordial, very nice, would respond, but just didn't really offer a whole lot. But then as time went on, he kind of started to share his story. And his story was that of a life of addiction. And so anyway, we were blessed to have him in our group. And he continued to grow in our church, and he and a couple others started it's a ministry, a Christian-based ministry about addiction. It's called Celebrate Recovery. So Alan and a couple of others from our church started that, and it just grew. It grew within our church and other churches and around the city. It became quite a blessing. And so Alan was able to kind of start in our small group and then extend, the blessing and the Holy Spirit through Celebrate Recovery. That went on for a couple of years, and then Alan was having to relocate to another city, and he came by our house and brought Kathy and I a gift, and just wanted to thank us for our involvement in the small group. But the gift was that it was a ceramic lighthouse with a little light on the inside, and what he kind of explained was the small group was kind of a place where he could go, and a friendly environment where there was where he could feel the presence of God, like we've talked about. And one of the things that none of us ever really knew about Alan was that first Wednesday night when the Spirit kind of nudged me to go over and say hello to him. That was his first week of sobriety. So he really, I don't know, he needed someone, and that's kind of what happened that night. And from there, he took his experience with community group, again, growth group, and extended that and reached out through Celebrate Recovery, and it was really quite a God thing. So Kathy and I really like small groups, again, growth groups. We really, one of the reasons why we joined the church was we knew that Jim and the staff here thought that would be, a big blessing to start the growth groups here at the summit, and we've been members here for a couple of years, so we're just really enthused and support the program. So blessings. Thanks a lot.